What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed Quote IQ and Chris, the Striping Guys channel. And in this video, we're going to be doing a $10,000 parking lot striping seal and stripe job recap. But I'm joined with Chris. Chris, how's it going, man?
What's going on, Justin? Thanks for having me on the channel.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at a recent job that Chris did, and we're going to be breaking it down. So all the facets, right? We're going to be going through everything in this one. So if you guys are ready for that, hit the thumbs up button for us. And before we jump into it, if you guys are looking to start a business like this for yourself, we have a couple different ways you guys can learn more from Chris. Chris does in-person training out in Oklahoma. You guys probably seen it on the channel before, as well as the How to Stripe course, which will be linked up in the comment section and the description of this video. So if you guys are looking to go deeper, maybe start this business for yourself, I'd highly recommend going those two routes. Chris, wouldn't you recommend seal coating and striping for anybody looking to kind of get into a service industry business?
I would highly recommend seal coating and striping because they work together. A lot of times, whenever you are on a parking lot striping job, a lot of times you're going to be on asphalt parking lots. And when you offer both seal coating and striping, it's going to allow you to upsell your customer and allow you to more than triple or quadruple your average ticket price.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, if you do pressure washing, it's an excellent add-on. So, if you guys are interested in any training information, check it out. It'll be the first link in the comment section and the description. But let's go ahead and jump right into this one. So, first and foremost, Chris, how did you get this job?
It was funny how I got it. Initially, this customer called me at the beginning of this year in January. I was at the grocery store and I got a random call from somebody that was interested in getting some crack fill seal coating and striping done at their property. Of course, since it was in the off season, it wasn't too pressing. There weren't a lot of quotes to go out and do. So I initially told the customer I would go to the property, draft up some numbers, get them something put together, and then send it out within a couple of days. I sent out the quote, and I didn't hear anything back. And usually when you don't hear anything back, the first thing that comes to your mind is I probably got price shopped either by a competitor or they found a cheaper price, whatever the case may be. So I followed up a couple times, didn't hear anything back. That was the end of it. And then 6 months later, whenever I was handing out some seal coating flyers for both commercial and residential properties, I was like, well, this property is only a couple miles away from my house. So what I decided to do was drive past the property, see if anybody had serviced the parking lot. And to my surprise, it hadn't yet been serviced. And the parking lot was getting worse. That's whenever I just walked up and put one of our flyers in between the door. And then 2 days later, that's when I got the call about picking up the quote again, even though it had been 6 months later.
Okay. Mike's telling me that the video looks terrible. So I was kind of worried about the footage being blurry on this one. I don't know why that's the case. But it is what it is. So Chris, you kind of had to fight for this one a little bit. They called you out first and foremost. You know, you had to go pass out the flyer to ultimately get back in front of them. With regards to follow up, do you have any kind of like procedure in place for your follow ups?
Yeah, what I do whenever I'm trying to follow up with potential customers, I stay on them, especially if they call me wanting me to go out there and look at the property. If they want me to waste time and effort, energy, finances going out, touching the property, measuring the cracks, measuring the asphalt, looking at the striping, and then if I send off the quote and then don't hear anything back, that's whenever I just consistently follow up because if they're going to waste my time and then just go with someone else, then I will follow up with them until they tell me that they have pursued other options. So it's no different in this case. I mean, I followed up, didn't hear anything back, followed up, didn't hear anything back. And since I didn't hear anything back, I thought, well, I'll just put one of these flyers in the door and then make contact with them that way. And to my surprise, it worked.
Okay, excellent, man. So the footage is looking better. I'm sorry, you guys. Bear with us. I'm making sure that the footage looks good as we're kind of talking through it. So Chris, I mean, what kind of shape was this parking lot in whenever you went out there and took a look at it? You know what I mean? It doesn't look like it was very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I first went out there to give them the initial quote in the beginning of the year, um, it was in pretty bad condition. But what's worse is that it deteriorated over time, and so
Did you
since it,
see Mike's comment, Chris? He says,
yeah,
"Do you
Mike's
like to fill up the
Mi-
cracks?"
Mike's making me laugh. Yes, I do, because every single step that I take, it is $1. So if there are 10,000 cracks, we charge $1 per crack. So yes, I love to fill cracks. Thank you for the question. But the parking lot just deteriorates over time, especially when it goes unrepaired, and that's what happened in this case. Whenever I first touched the property in January, and gave them a quote, whenever I went back out there later on in the season, the parking lot had grown worse. Weeds had grown through the cracks, and it just got in worse condition.
Okay, excellent, man. So yeah, this one took a little bit of perseverance to land it. Let's get to my next question, Chris. With regards to pricing, any tips you can give us on pricing these big jobs? Is it something you had to kind of figure out, or what do you think, man?
Well, on pricing when you only offer, let's just say, for example, you only offer striping, and then you're having to, I don't know, subcontract the seal coating, then you're going to have to be a little bit more conservative as it pertains to orchestrating prices, who you're going to call. You might have to call a couple of people. If you only do striping, you might have to find a company to outsource that does seal coating. But when you offer both services, it really helps you to make more money, because in this particular case, I was a lot more expensive for the seal coating. And since I was more expensive on the front end for the seal coating, on the back end, I was able to charge less for the striping in order to get the job. And usually whenever we seal coat properties, if I'm not going to do seal coating, I'm more expensive on striping. But if they're getting a whole package like crack filling, seal coating, and parking lot striping, then I'm going to be more expensive on, the crack filling, the seal coating, and then lower it on the striping.
Excellent, man. Excellent. And Chris, you had said that it had taken some time to get this job, right? So, like, yeah, that first contact point, a few months went by, you hit them with a flyer. Ultimately, they give you a call, you got the job. How long does it typically take in between that first contact, going out there and doing the quote, and then to them actually being like, let's go ahead and get it done? Is it usually like a buffer time in between there?
Yeah, I would say that it requires patience. I mean, when you're first getting started and you're trying to acquire customers, you're trying to land those larger jobs and reoccurring contracts, that it's going to require some patience, because you have to, number one, you have to position yourself in such a way to where they're even interested in using you. And number two, whenever you send off a quote, I have found that customers, if it's about $10,000 and above, companies and customers have to go through like a chain of command, which is why in property management companies, people are doing, 3 quotes and typically going with the cheapest one. But I have found that if you have that pricing structure in such a way where it's not too expensive to where, they have to go get multiple quotes, and then you're not so cheap to where is like they're wondering like, well, why is it so cheap, or why is it so expensive? If you try to be in the middle somewhere, then you have a larger possibility of landing the job. And that's what we did here. I mean, we started off initially higher, but I was able to sense that this customer was kind of having a problem pulling the trigger and moving forward. And so I essentially put him in a squeeze, gave him a great offer, and the offer was so good he didn't want to say no, and we still got paid at the end of the job.
Excellent, man. So me and you'd kind of talked about this job previously, and so I know that you were kind of in competition with another guy to land this job. When you find yourself in a circumstance like that, what are kind of like some of the ways you like to differentiate yourself from other contractors that might be bidding on the same job?
100%. That was one of the ways that we were able to lock in the job, because he had told me that he didn't spend a lot of time getting other quotes, but he did say that he did compare us to another contractor. And but the contractor just didn't have any social proof. I mean, he didn't have a website. He did not have a Google profile. He had a Facebook. His marketing was it was not that good. And so when you compare our website, our marketing, our reviews, our services, and then compare it to another, it was a no-brainer. And even the customer himself, before he decided to pursue our option, said, we'd really rather use you guys, but we did want you to know that you came in more expensive. And so that's what I told him. I was like, look, I'm willing to kind of work with you a little bit on the pricing, but you got to book today. I mean, if you can confirm today on the job, you can lock it in. Let's schedule it. I'll give you a discount. You could lock it in, accept it, and then we'll put it on the schedule and move forward. And ultimately he did. And that's how we got the job.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Yeah, because I mean, as we spoke about, when you find yourself bidding on these commercial jobs, in a lot of cases, they want to get 2 to 3 quotes, and it just, that's how things are. So you got to find little ways to differentiate yourself. I think you've done a great job leveraging your social media presence as well as all the reviews on GMB. So those are all super important things. But Chris, I see you got a guy working with you on this one. Is this a job that can be done by one man, or do you have to have 2 people to do a seal coating job like this?
It could be done by one person. It could be done solo, but man, I'm telling you what, it's pretty gnarly to do it by yourself, because you see him, he's behind me, he's working the hose. You got to have a little bit of slack. So you could do it by yourself, but preferably it's better to bring about 3 or 4 people out, because ultimately we want to do the job, get it done, and then move on to the next one. Whereas if I had to be out here by myself, it would probably take me twice as long, and then I wouldn't be able to just do this job on to the next one, on to the next one. You know what I mean? So.
No, absolutely, man. So it gives you a little bit of a speed advantage. I mean, it's always important to take into consideration how long is it taking to get the job done, as well as how much you're spending. So I guess having another person with regards to helping you out isn't costing you as much on the labor side as it is speeding you up, right? You get more value out of it than what you do cost.
100%. I mean, and it's because we've got a full schedule. I mean, on our schedule, once the spring season starts, I mean, I've got people that are booking throughout the winter. Once the spring season starts, we're really clearing out the schedule from all the people that book during the winter. And then that's whenever our summer customers start coming in that we take care of spring through summer. And then now towards the fall, I mean, we're still busy. I've got jobs that I can't even touch, and I just send outrageous quotes to people, and then they just accept them. Like today, I mean, today it's like 1,200 square foot of asphalt, and like 8 parking lot lines. And I just didn't have time to touch the site because we're so busy. So I just sent him a price of just short of $4,000, and he accepts it. You know what I mean? So when you're able to pick and choose who you want to work for, right? When you pick and choose who you want to work for, and I could just send off high quotes, they accept it. And then it allows me to keep my pipeline filled, keep people working, stay busy, make more money, ultimately producing more results.
Excellent, man. Yeah, I mean, giving yourself that choice is really what it's all about. So for anybody who doesn't know, the winter season is coming. Chris has got, I think, one more training coming up. So if you guys are interested in getting some in-person training, either for parking lot striping or for seal coating, coming out, holding the machine, going through step-by-step with Chris, definitely hop on it. We'll have a link down below sooner than later, right, Chris? Because it's kind of coming to the end for this year.
Yeah, it's coming to an end. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just did a collaboration video with one of our students that came out with in-person training. And the guy's already doing a phenomenal job. And that's one of the things that I talked to him about in our video, was how that this course came out, 6 months ago, and it's already producing multiple 6-figure earners. We're getting testimonials back from guys who have done, who have gotten how to stripe, who have done in-person training. I mean, there's one guy that is out in Missouri that is selling jobs like crazy. And once you have the skill set available to you, then you're able to capitalize upon the skill set that you have, and then leverage that skill set to get more customers, make more money, and produce more results. So I would highly recommend that somebody invest in that in-person training.
Absolutely. So we'll have that linked in the comment section description. But Chris, how long did this whole job take? I mean, it's kind of hard for you guys to see. This is a big parking lot. This is just one side of the parking lot. There's actually a whole other side. But in total, how long did it take?
Man, to be honest, this job was a mobilization nightmare. Initially, it should have just taken 3 days max. I mean, one day to crack fill, prep and crack fill, one day to seal coat, and then let it cure for 24, 48 hours, and then another day to stripe. So 3 days at most, with 2 days of cure for cure time. But when I initially got the job, we scheduled it, and then it was at a church. One of their members died, so the family had to host a dinner event, and so I had half of the parking lot blocked off. And they said, "Hey, can we put the project on hold because one of our people, needs to occupy the facility?" And I said, "Okay, that's fine, not a big deal. Of course, I'm trying to accommodate their needs." So then we come back. And then after that, then they said there's going to be voting. Ran into another problem. Then people had to do voting. So I guess some elections were going on or whatever, but the facility had to be occupied for voting. So then it pushes me back another week. Not that we couldn't get the job done. It was just that unforeseen events were coming up. So in total, this project, it was about 11 days. Now, we didn't work on it 11 days. It took about 4 days. But in total, it took about 11 days from start to get paid, which is kind of frustrating. But ultimately, like, my customer was satisfied. So I would rather prolong completion and go work on another project than to get frustrated with my customer over not being able to make the money as fast. Because like I said, we've always got something that we can go and do. I mean, I could put somebody on something else, or I can go do something. So either way, if we're not working on this job, we're going to be working on another one.
Absolutely. And Chris, how do you manage that, man? Because like obviously, they probably have services on Sunday. They probably needed to utilize the parking lot within that time frame. So how do you manage that kind of stuff?
Well, what I'm trying to do essentially, whenever I'm on the job, I know that they're going to have services on Sunday. I'm trying to hit that parking lot. I forgot even to mention that. I mean, and their church services. So I'm trying to hit that parking lot on Monday afternoon, and then by Wednesday they're filling up half the parking lot. And then, by the next church service, I'm trying to have that complete side done. That way they can at least occupy half of the building, because it's a relatively big church. I mean, they're pushing 80 to 100 on Sundays. So, if you only have 30 parking spaces, but 50 cars, you're running into trouble. But ultimately, we want to keep them off of the asphalt for as long as possible, because we want to make sure that it cures properly. We give them the best results. So not only is it a mobilization nightmare, but really just scheduling and then time management as well, because we do have deadlines, and we have to make sure that we produce a quality result in the shortest period of time, and to give them the best outcome. So
Absolutely. This is a good, look at what the other side of this parking lot looked like. This was, I mean, dude, this was a big job. So, $10,000 like we talked about. And obviously coordinating is one of the most difficult pieces. That's why you got to be really good with communicating with your customers. Wouldn't you say so, Chris? It's like a skill that you kind of had to develop.
100%. And to be honest with you, man, it really comes from serving and waiting tables. You know what I mean? Like working in a fast food environment. I can remember, man, like whenever I was working in a fast food place, I mean, it sucked because you really had to be nice to people who were in a bad mood all the time. But it really teaches you like customer service and understanding where people are. And it really just kind of gives you a leverage point, because at the end of the day, like I want my customer to be satisfied. Like, I mean, I want these people to spend $10,000 with me 3 years from now. And so, you're faced with a decision. Am I going to be rude to this customer who's already trusted me enough to allow me and our company to service their parking lot? Am I going to treat them like crap because unforeseen circumstances, voting, family member died? You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it for me to upset a customer in order to increase profitability a couple days sooner, because like I said, we can always go do something else. So ultimately every time, and I feel bad for the guy because he'd say, Chris, I'm so sorry, dude. Can we please push it back? And I would say, no problem at all. Take care of what you need to take care of. And I just told him up front, because I want you guys to use me in 3 years from now. Like when your parking lot needs to be serviced again, I want to be the people that you call. And so I believe customer service is very, very important, because ultimately, like, it's not about just, if you can have great branding, great service, great marketing, but if your customer service sucks and your customer relations are horrible, then people aren't going to want to use you in the future. So I try to provide a well-rounded service everywhere. So.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, Chris, did anything go wrong on this job? Was there, I mean, besides obviously the hangups with, scheduling and having to figure all that stuff out?
Yeah, something did go wrong. As I said earlier in the video, we initially gave them the quote at the beginning of this year. And so what had happened was I didn't go back out and check this property last month whenever we started this job. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So 8 months passed by before I actually looked at the site and examined it as if I was going to service it. Remember, I just passed by and stuck a flyer in the door. I didn't look at the property again and go, man, you know what? It's really gotten worse since last time. If I do get it, I'm going to have to increase my price, right? So that was probably the worst thing, is that I did not do another site assessment. I just was like, hey, if you want to get on the schedule, I'll give you another discount. Let's book, and then let's get it taken care of. Because ultimately, water gets in the cracks, and then when water gets in the cracks, it freezes, and then when water freezes, it expands. It causes larger cracks, developing potholes, alligator cracking. And so what I found whenever I went back to the site, you don't see it in this video because this was a multi-phase project, but in the other part of the seal coating footage, there was grass that was overgrown, and these cracks, an inch and a half. We had to take a shovel to it and then, peel it back just to get it off of the surface. So, I didn't do a site check again to make sure that, hey, did the parking lot get worse over time? Which it did, but I priced it in such a way to where the supplies still covered it, because I always give myself a little bit of cushion. So the supplies and labor covered it, and I walked away with the same exact profit margin that I had originally expected to get. It was just that I probably should have done another site check before I resent it out. But my competitor was around, 10 grand, and I was at 2. So I had already given him a 15% discount just to schedule. So it was like, do I want to make 10 grand? Or do I want to lose out on 12 for the sake of going, I sent out a quote for $12,000. You know what I mean? So right. I'd rather make 10 instead of lose 12. You know what I mean? So
it's we get ourselves in these predicaments where we have to make a choice. And so, like you said, sacrifice in the short term for what you can gain in the long term, because it's not every day that $10,000 customers come along. Now with seal coating and parking lot striping, it's a lot more than what it would be with other service businesses. So, but when you get one of those, you want to take full advantage of it. So absolutely, Chris, you had to sacrifice a little bit to gain a little bit. With these seals and seal coating and restripes, are you able to see the line underneath the seal coat, Chris? Are you gonna have to or do you have to repop all these lines?
Yeah, as long as the lines are not that deteriorated, then you can. Obviously, in any case, it's good to pop the chalk lines whenever possible, so you don't deviate away from the original line. But for the most part, you're able to see where the lines are underneath. I didn't pop the chalk line that is going north-south. I just popped that tail end line. But you're watching me do it. I can see it on the ground. I'm not too sure from the footage if you can see it, but I can see it on the ground. And I'm just slamming through it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, Chris, you would say that the seal coating obviously takes a lot longer than the striping aspect of the job, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the seal coating does take a lot longer, but the hard part is the prep. You know what I mean? Because you're adding a service, you're learning more about it. You know what I mean? Like the hard part that I have found is the prep, because you know, you get so many jobs where it's booked on the schedule and you're thinking like, man, I got to hurry up and get this done. I got to get this done. And so I think prep work is the most time consuming, because once you prep, you clean the cracks, then you fill them. And then once you fill the cracks, then you start seal coating. So I don't know if you've seen in the footage though, but like on day one, you know, we spent like, I don't know, 6.5 hours, 7 hours prepping. And then like less than, you know, setting up the tank, less than about 45 minutes in actual sealing. So the prep work is the most time consuming thing, because we want the product to adhere properly. And if the surface is not prepped, it's not going to stick.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely one of the most important pieces that we've spoken about. So, Chris, we talked a little bit about everything on this job. Anything else particularly, like you guys are going to see here in just a second, they had a lot of fire lane that needed to be painted. Why is there fire lane along the don't you paint fire lane along all the spots, Chris?
Yeah. So what was particularly interesting about this is that the fire marshal had given them a fire lane code violation, and the state that we live in, especially the municipality that I live in, they're starting to, and I like it. I mean, they're starting to fine business owners for not having fire lane, and they're essentially forcing them to adhere to the codes that they pass. And I've been getting jobs like this all year long, and that was one of the things. They were like, "Hey, we got a fire lane code violation. Is there any way you could please add some fire lane around?" And one of the great things about it is we don't have to hire an engineer or nothing if we're just doing a fire lane code violation. It's just, I said, "Yeah, well, you got a design you'd like me to look at?" And he was like, "Well, we really don't have a design, but they just described how they wanted fire lane on the back of the the lines." And I was like, "Well, okay." And I've done it long enough to know that they need to be connected. So instead of doing curved lines, I just did 90s. So you essentially, there's 2 points of entry on the property, right here and right here. And I just connected them in all 90 degrees. And yeah, and they loved it, man. I'm telling you what, like, they paid me the day after I did it. They were very, very satisfied. And I was too.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks super clean. I mean, like, just, I mean, I don't think Chris has the before and after in this video footage, but oh my gosh, man, talk about night and day with regards to their parking lot.
I don't have the before and after. Like, I don't have the before drone footage, but I have the completed product at the end of this video. And dude, I'm not going to lie. I looked at this job probably like 4 times. You know what I mean? I just opened my phone and just looked at the before and afters because it was so drastic.
Right.
So many times. And not only that, but like, my customer was satisfied. And that really means the most, because you could be the best. And I mean, you could be the best at marketing, the best at striping, but if you suck at dealing with customers, you might be able to get them that one time, but they're not going to use you the next time. And so I really, really wanted my customer to be satisfied with the overall product. And to my surprise, they were. And think about it like this. This isn't just one property owner too. This is a church with about 80 to 100 people. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all it takes is one person to complain about the quality of the job. You know what I mean? Like, all it takes is one person to go in there like, "Did you see how they messed up on that line? And what about that? And I see a place right here." And the fact that, my customer said everybody in the church absolutely loved the finished product. And, I mean, it's just, and I knew that they would. Yeah.
Right. Makes you feel good about it. It's just strange to me that they would have fire lane along the outside, because it kind of makes it look like, hey, don't park here. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's just kind of interesting. Chris, anything else we want to mention with regards to this job, man? Any other lessons learned? Any other things that somebody might get some benefit out of?
Yeah, I would just stay consistent. I mean, consistency is key. Don't quit or don't give up. I talk to so many people that are like, "Oh, I've tried this and I've tried this and I've tried that, and it's just not working." And really, essentially, failure for them was an option. And failure for me is not an option. There is no quitting. There is no, "Oh, that didn't work." If it doesn't work, you tweak it. You try it again. You try it till it works. If it doesn't work, you change something. And ultimately, it's just, this is one of those cases. We just didn't stop. We doubled down on our marketing. and here's the finished shot. We doubled down on our marketing, and I guess the GMB didn't work in this case. So then what did we do? We didn't just go, oh, well, I guess I didn't get them. What did I do? I made a flyer. I handed out a flyer, and I doubled down on the marketing, stayed consistent, and we landed the job.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, there's other ways to get jobs, and you got to be capitalizing in every single direction. So this is a beautiful, beautiful job here, Chris. We'll give a couple shout outs to people in the comment section. Carlos is here from Toronto, Canada. He says, I want to do the course. If you guys want to check out the course, the How to Stripe course, it'll be the first link in the comment section description. If you're interested in some in-person training with Chris, where you can actually get out, utilize the machine, meet with them, ask them all your questions, do the whole 9. That'll be linked up in the comment section description as well. So highly recommend you check out either one of those options. Purcell Striping says, prep. I came in late, got to watch it back. Peaches wants to know, is this live? Yes, it is. And so does Jack Grimaldi. But yeah, man, dude, this finished product came out absolutely beautiful, Chris. Every guest that comes on the channel has picked the word of the day. What do you want the word of the day to be on this video?
Seal coat.
Seal code. If you made this far in the video, comment down below seal code, hashtag you're a real one. Anything else, Chris? Any last thoughts before we wrap this one?
Yeah, just doubling down on that in-person training. I mean, we're closing up shop for the end of the year as far as in-person training, but I can promise you this: if you're hesitant this year, you probably need to reach out and consider signing up for next year, because we're doing these trainings all the time and slots do close. And so if you're interested in really leveling up and not because we don't just say, hey, here's how you do a line. But I mean, my last trainer that came out, you know what I'm saying? I showed him how to interact with the customer. I showed him how to upsell, how to get more jobs, how to make more money. So it's not just, hey, you're coming out and I'm going to show you how to paint a line. I mean, you're really in the field. You're in the trenches with us. And I'm showing you how we do this day by day. So if you're thinking about it, considering it, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. And, I would highly recommend that you consider it, because next year is going to fill up fast, just like this year has.
Absolutely. We like to say that we give you all the tools that you're going to need to go out there and do this for yourself. And we know how daunting this can be from the beginning. So, hey, if you want to hang out with the professionals, man, not just learning how it's done, how to talk to customers and everything else. But it'll be linked up in the comment section description. Appreciate you guys for jumping on with us. But until next time, let's hard and get that money, baby. Peace.